High fives, high fives. Wait, let me go. Wait, let me go. Sorry. Okay. Great. Thank you. Thank you.
Is this? Oh, this one's on. Cool. Thank you. Okay. First of all, Zara, that was so good. Literally ate that, left no crumbs. Um, and since all the girls are giving speeches today, they are serving and we are leaving full. So up next is Angelica and Riley.
Hi, everyone. Hello. Can you guys hear me? Amazing. Okay. Hi, guys. My name's Riley. I'll be presenting with Angelica. We really want to talk to you guys about leveling up and elevating your professional presence. So we're going to be covering 4 different tools. We don't have a ton of time, so we want to keep this concise, short. We want to give you guys information that you might not already have. The 4 tools we want to talk about are brag books. We want to kind of explain what those are and when you might use them. We want to talk to you about resumes and just explain how there's really no one-size-fits-all when it comes to resumes. We want to chat about LinkedIn and explain how you can use it to your advantage for job searching, networking, and a couple other things. Angelica's an expert on LinkedIn, so she's going to chat about that. And then we just want to touch on online portfolios. I need this. So before we start, I kind of just want to get a feel for it. Can you guys raise your hand if you have a resume? Okay, that's supposed to be the easiest one, so I was thinking everyone would raise their hand. Can you raise your hand if you have a resume that's up to date, current, and if you had to submit it in 10 minutes, you could do it? Okay, raise your hand if you have a brag book. Cool, okay. Raise your hand if you have a LinkedIn profile. Awesome. And then raise your hand if you have an online portfolio. Cool. And that's kind of specific to certain industries, but Angelica will kind of explain a bit about that too. So the one thing, if you guys take anything away from this, the one thing we really want you guys to understand is that all 4 of these tools are really different. And if you guys use all of these tools together, they will then create a cohesive picture of you and your skills and your achievements. And that's really useful when it comes to job searching and just progressing throughout your career. So I'm going to start with brag books. And when I talk about careers and stuff, I like to relate careers, job searching, and interviewing to dating. So I'm going to give you guys 2 scenarios. And I want to know which of these 2 scenarios or which of these 2 people you would rather go on a date with. All right, I'm going to give you guys 2 scenarios, and I want to know which of these 2 people you would rather go on a date with. Scenario 1. A random person comes up to you, and they're like, hey, I'm really cool, I'm super accomplished, I do a lot of stuff, and I'm smart, and I'm hilarious, I'm so funny, and I would treat you really well. Scenario number 2. Your friend comes up to you, and they say, hey, I heard you've been dating, I know someone, they're super cool, really, really smart, they're so funny, they always crack me up, and they're really accomplished, and I think they would treat you really well. Okay, raise your hand if you would pick person number 1. I'm so proud. Raise your hand if you would pick person number 2. Awesome. Now, this is something Zara kind of talked about, but can anyone explain to me why you would choose person number 2 to potentially go on a date with? You can just shout it out. Yeah, amazing. There's a credible third party, and that person holds more weight than someone speaking about themselves. And credible, remember that it has to be a credible source. So that's kind of the same concept as a brag book. And so when you talk about your own accomplishments and triumphs, it helps to frame your bragging, and it lets others speak for you. So that's the concept with a brag book. You're not bragging, but you're letting facts and evidence speak for you to promote you. So what is a brag book? This is on page 134 in your LEAP book. You can follow along if you want. This is kind of more information for you guys to look back on when you leave LEAP. So I'll kind of cover everything in here. So a brag book is like a scrapbook for your professional wins. And we are going to take a look at what an example of a brag book is right away, but let's just get through a couple of these points first. So a brag book highlights your top personal, professional, and educational milestones and achievements in a way that's super easy for you to reference to when you need it. And your brag book helps guide you when you're building a resume, when you're interviewing for a new job, and when you're navigating a salary increase. So it's even something you can use in a job you already have. It's also just nice when you need a morale boost, just so you can kind of see everything you've accomplished. So how is a brag book different than a resume? How is a brag book different than an online portfolio? So an online portfolio, as we'll talk about, is kind of just something showcasing your work. A resume, obviously, is something that you create to get a job interview, but a brag book is what you use in a job interview. So it's a physical object that you bring with you. So a brag book is designed, just said this, to be used in a job interview, to illustrate your qualifications, and also, this is key, it has to potentially be a leave-behind piece. So you need to be prepared to have this physical book with you that you might not get back. So you always want to make copies of things you're never going to give the only photo you have or your only transcript that you have, and we'll touch back on that in a minute. So a brag book can be used in your current job if you're doing a performance evaluation meeting or if you're requesting a raise or promotion. So how do I use a brag book? You can use it to tangibly showcase your accomplishments, to document your credentials, training, measurable skills, always measurable, we'll touch back on that too, and professional development. And it helps set you apart from other candidates. Often there's like 5, 10, 20 people applying for a job, and a brag book is a physical thing that you can leave behind. And maybe a week later, after there's been 30 people interviewed, your potential employer's like cleaning off their desk, organizing stuff, and they find your book. And it's a nice reminder of who you are, and they might take a look through it. It also gives you a prop. So if you're answering questions in an interview, it kind of gives you something to like refer to and to showcase. And yeah, it's a nice accompaniment to an interview. All right, what should I include in my brag book? If you guys are thinking about stuff to include, what's important, you should always remember the acronym WIIFM. This stands for what's in it for me. But what's in it for me is coming from the perspective of the potential employer. So what value can you include that will make them realize the value that you have for the company? So the first page could include, or should include, full contact information, your name, address, cell phone, email, your LinkedIn, the job title and company name for the position that you're applying, your photo, and then inside, awards and certificates, letters of recommendation, transcripts, performance evaluations, newspaper articles, thank you letters from coworkers or clients, and pictures of you in action. So for my brag book, I might include an article that was written about me in the local paper when I won a $10,000 scholarship from Peter Mansbridge. He's a big journalist. So I would include that just because it's kind of impressive and it's something that was written about me, not by me. However, on the second page, or the second picture, I might include that. That's a personal essay that I wrote, just talking about my scoliosis that I had, so I had to wear a back brace all through high school and junior high. So I feel like that just kind of shows going through a troubled time and like how I came out ahead. So I might include that. I would also include photos. So I would include a lot of photos from LEAP, which Angelica's been taking amazing photos all week. Actually, can we just give Angelica a round of applause really quickly? Angelica's been taking awesome photos of you guys, and she'll be taking headshots of you guys as well if you want, which I would highly recommend, because my photos from LEAP are something that I showcase in all areas of my life. So on the left is me and Christian, who's a coach this year. He looks really, really different in this photo than he does right now. Hi. And then up the top, that's another one of my LEAP groups from a couple years ago. On the right is me doing an invasive species poll. So I work in the environmental industry or environmental sector. So I like to show me in action. That's Phragmites in my hand. It's a big invasive species in Ontario. And then on the bottom is me doing a shoreline or beach cleanup in my neighborhood. So the one thing to note really quickly is I would obviously include a caption, a really detailed caption of who these people are in the photo, what we're doing. You want to make everything as easy as possible for people to understand, because what's the point in including stuff if you're going to make them guess and do all the work? So I would do who's in the photo, what we're doing, why it's important, and why it's relevant. You should also just include only the best examples of your work. You want to do quality over quantity. You never want to give someone a book that's like 50 pages. You want to try and make it as easy as possible for them to know all of your accomplishments. Only include items that provide concrete evidence, so photos, numbers, and measurable things. This is really important for resumes as well, so I'll touch on that in a bit. When in doubt, leave it out. And do not include original documents. As I mentioned, you should always have scans and copies and photocopies of all of your accomplishments and like important documents, and keep those in a Google Drive folder. Keep them with you at home as well. It's just always nice to have as many examples as possible. And even if you think you're gonna remember something or you think you can just pull it up later, you're probably gonna forget. So just, I don't know, try to always have an ongoing collection of amazing things that you've done. Take the time to polish the materials, make them scannable, make them really easy for people to read and understand. And only include relevant information, and don't just include a photo, include a caption. This is something that I'm huge about. I feel like in this day and age, it's 2023, you should not be having any spelling errors or grammatical issues. Hopefully you guys aren't seeing any in this presentation, actually. But there's so many amazing apps and programs, and especially with AI now, there's so many amazing things you can like add on or plug into your Google documents or your Word documents that'll automatically find errors for you. So Grammarly is one, Pro Writing Aid is another one. This is such a basic thing now, like it's just not a good look if you guys have a bunch of grammatical errors. And then tailor everything specifically for your job. Again, this is exactly relevant with resumes. It's not one size fits all. Make sure that you are picking and choosing carefully what might be relevant. We're gonna look at Marty's brag book in a minute, and she uses, I think, a 3-ring binder, so she can just easily pull pages out, add pages back in, depending on the job. All right, this is Marty's brag book. She was nice enough to let us look through it and just use it for a visual example so you guys can understand what we're talking about. So on the first page, she has a photo of herself. She has a really beautiful kind of handwritten summary on the front that just explains that this is a summary of some of her most recent achievements. And then on the first page, there's a handwritten note with her signature as well that says, "Thank you so much for taking the time to learn more about me and read my portfolio." She has some of her top 4 current goals, her top 4 books read, the guiding principles, her core values, and mission. She did want me to mention that she does, again, pick and choose and change things based on the job she's applying for and what's relevant. And again, you don't want to inundate anyone with too much information, so she does kind of refine as she goes. Her superpowers, so AKA some of her strengths and her best skills. And then she has an accomplishment board, which is like really impressive and spans a couple pages, and she has awesome photos too, because I feel like a photo just kind of showcases that it's real and important. And yeah, so a photo for every accomplishment and a very brief description of what each of those is. She also has a lot of her work experience in there, again with photos, and then a couple fun facts about her at the end. All right, I want to touch on resumes. If I'm going too fast, sorry, we have so much good information that we want to get through. All right, so as I mentioned, resumes are not one size fits all. I'm not going to talk to you guys about resume basics. I know that you have seen a resume before, you understand what it is. Dr. Bill did talk a bit about resumes too, which was super useful, but I just want to talk a bit about how important it is to make sure that you are making your resume, designing your resume specifically for the job that you're looking for. Research the company, like make sure you understand what's in the job description, pull keywords from the job description and add them to your resume. And one big thing that I think is so important is you should always have a working copy of your resume saved on your Google Drive as a Word doc or a Google Doc, so that you can like add to it every time that you need to update it, so that you never have to like spend a couple hours on one day trying to update it for the last couple years. So I always, always, always have an updated version that's still being worked on, and then just make a copy of it and customize it for the job that you're applying for. I also find, for the most part, send in your resume as a PDF so the formatting is staying, unless we're talking about a large corporation with like applicant tracking software, which is not something we're going to touch on today, but something you guys can easily Google. All right, I just want to go over 3 types of resumes. This is not meant to be something that you need to follow word for word. It's just I want you guys to start thinking about, you really want to focus on certain skills or education or work experience based on where you're at in life. Some of us have a lot of job experience, some of us are still in high school, some of us are just graduating college. So maybe you have more skills and maybe you have more work experience, but depending on which one, you might do a different kind of resume. So there's reverse chronological or chronological, functional or skill-based, and combination or hybrid. The main difference is simply what you're focusing on. If you have a lot of skills but you've never had a job before, you would focus on the skill-based resume. and vice versa for the other ones. Here's an example. I want to just make sure you guys know that this is not Mariano's actual job, but it's just something I made up. So Mariano's an electrician. He's been working in his field for over 15 years. He's been with the same company since 2007, from journeyman to master. Mariano found an interesting job opening for a master electrician position with a big international corporation. And the responsibilities listed in the job ad are very similar to his current duties and tasks. So to get the attention of the recruiters, he needs to highlight his career progression and his proudest professional wins. So Mariano's going to go with a chronological resume because it focuses on all the experience that he has. And this is all in your Leap book too. It's just to give you guys an example of where you want to organize all of your information on your resume. Cade is an entry-level digital marketer. He's been doing a lot of freelancing, but has little full-time experience. He graduated in 2022, he's worked part-time, he has a lot of side gigs, projects, and he's a blogger, but he doesn't have a lot of work experience. So he is going to showcase his projects and present the wide variety of his skills. So Cade's gonna focus on a functional, skill-based resume. And Zara is a senior IT manager. She has the leadership positions with the biggest IT companies in the world. She's well into her career, she's very into leadership, and she is about to apply for a highly specialized position as head of IT. But to get there, she needs to prove that she has comprehensive technical knowledge as well as team building and leadership skills. She's gonna go with a combination resume, which links her skills to her real life experience. Again, you guys don't have to follow this word for word. It's just I really want you guys to start thinking critically about the jobs that you're applying for and what they actually care about. Lastly, about resumes, quantify, quantify, quantify. I just can't even stress how much more interesting it is when you give actual measurables and deliverables in your accomplishments. So I'm going to show you guys a lot of examples, but essentially, we want to talk about what we've done in our past jobs and what we've accomplished or offered or helped out with. So this could be, what did you help increase? And an example would be revenue. You increased brand recognition. You increased customer satisfaction. What did I decrease? You decreased support tickets, costs, or overhead. How many? How many calls were you making in a day? How many tickets were you closing? How many processes did you implement? So let's look at an example of a generic skill or a generic sentence on your resume. So maybe you worked at the front desk, answering phones, replying to emails, and checking guests in and out of their rooms. That's a perfectly fine sentence. It doesn't really tell us much. It's not that impressive. But how can we make that more measurable? Sorry. You manage the front desk, checking 45 plus guests in and out of their rooms and confirming 20 plus new reservations via phone and email each shift. Do you understand the difference there? We actually took real numbers, we quantified it. It just shows exactly how effective you are, exactly what a resource you've been for the team, and kind of helps with your value. So here's a couple other effective examples. You served as a head waiter of a staff of 14 waiters and bussers. You saved the company $40,000 per year by negotiating new vendor contracts. You worked on your feet for a full 8 hours, unloading an average of 2 semi-truck trailers daily. And you served as treasurer for your university marketing club, managing a $3,200 budget. This is just such an important way to explain exactly your value and your worth and to make your future employers understand that. Lastly, I said the last thing was last, but this is last. This is my current job I have now, or this is the current job I applied for, and it's a communications and events coordinator of the Ocean program with the Canadian Parks and Wilderness Society. So part of the job description had mentioned that this role would work with the National Oceans Program team to support the planning of Impact 5. And Impact 5 is a big international conference. It stands for the International Marine Protected Areas Congress. Marine protected areas are like national parks, but in the water. So I knew that this role would have a lot of conference things about it, helping plan a conference, helping facilitate everything, helping make it happen. And I don't really have a lot of experience with that. Some of the key responsibilities said working to help plan it, including communications and promotions, program development, planning side events, supporting the planning and hosting of events, workshops, activities, and meetings, and experience in planning and managing successful events and outreach activities. However, I do have LEAP. I've been a coach for 5 years, so I realized that there is that connection of conferences. So in my application, I made sure to mention that I have 5+ years experience volunteering with LEAP, an annual week-long leadership conference for 500+ college and high school students. In this role, I help assist the executive director with conference logistics and help facilitate dozens of events and sessions throughout the week. And then I also had a bit of other volunteer experience too. And my employers, who are now my bosses, told me that the big thing that stuck out to them was that I had conference experience, and so that's why they chose to interview me, and then that's how I got the job. And Charlie was my reference as well, so they had to call him, and yeah, so that worked out really well. There's me at Impact 5, 2 years later, 2 years of planning. I got to present on beluga whales in Canada and how they are threatened. And yeah, and now Angelica's gonna go. Thank you.
Okay, is this working? Oh, great. Oh, thanks, guys. Okay. Hi, guys. I'm Angelica. If you haven't met me already, I am a coach, and I'm also the photographer for the program this year. And today, I'm going to be talking about something I'm very oddly passionate about, and that is LinkedIn. Raise of hands again, how many of you guys have a LinkedIn profile? Okay, how many of you guys actually use your LinkedIn profile, like, pretty often? All right, so hopefully by the end of this presentation, everyone is actually gonna have a LinkedIn profile set up, or at least you're gonna have the confidence to have a LinkedIn profile. Through this presentation, I'm just gonna be talking about how to effectively use LinkedIn and how it can be a really helpful tool to have, especially as young adults, as students. So, just quickly about me real quick, I've been a coach for 5 years. I've been coming to LEAP since 2016, so that's little old me. And then that's my first year coaching with Zara and Riley. That was us last year. And it's very cliche, but LEAP has changed my life for the better. I came in very insecure, just not knowing my purpose. And since then, I've graduated from my dream school of USC studying film. I've traveled the world for multiple different occasions, and I've just been a better person since, I think, or at least I'd hope so. And specifically why I love LinkedIn and why I have such a passion for LinkedIn is for one main reason. I recently got a new job, and it was all thanks to LinkedIn. So through this job, I now work in marketing, essentially. But through that, I've been on film sets. I was able to meet one of my favorite baseball players, Corey Seager, and also have some of my work published on Instagram and on socials for very big clients like Isaac Mizrahi, who's a fashion designer. And so I hope by the end of this, you guys can see that's living proof that LinkedIn works and is very helpful. So, what specifically is LinkedIn? I feel like there's this preconceived notion that LinkedIn is just this like random career app that you use, like a resume essentially, but I feel like it's a lot more than that. LinkedIn is very much just like your dating profile for recruiters. So especially for applying for internships and future jobs you guys are gonna have, LinkedIn is just another way for recruiters to really see who you are, kind of like what Riley said, the whole dating analogy. It's a lot easier for recruiters specifically to know who you are as a person beyond just your physical resume. And with that being said, it's also, in a way, a digital resume. Now that we're in the world of everything being tech heavy and everything you're applying for is online and everyone basically will always ask you for what your LinkedIn is, it's very important to have this set up and have it as essentially a digital resume. And all of Riley's points that she made and Dr. Bill's are very applicable to this as well. And it's also kind of Facebook for professionals, which sounds very daunting. But hopefully when you guys look through LinkedIn later on in the day, or hopefully you can, you're gonna see that there's like a feed portion of LinkedIn, and it's just a way to see what all your other connections and people you know, what they're doing in their lives. But now we're gonna talk about the 3 main ways that we're gonna use LinkedIn and the 3 main ways that I like using LinkedIn. So these are the main 3, These are main 3 ones. It's networking, copy genius in relation to Andrea's presentation, and job hunting. So with networking, this is one of the main ways that a lot of people like using LinkedIn. It's basically to know who's in your network and find other people that are applicable to your jobs. So, Networking really helps. Just find people who are part of the same school or workplace or programs you're in. Kind of like with what Dr. Bill said yesterday about you really never know who you're going to meet. The same applies for LinkedIn. You never know what kind of experience someone may have. And LinkedIn just really helps show you all that information at the fingertips, you know? And it's also helpful when you want to connect with recruiters. I know when I was in college and applying for a lot of internships, a lot of recruiters are very active on LinkedIn. And so this is another good way to just show them who you are and make sure that they know who you are and you're not just another applicant. One of my favorite ways that I like using LinkedIn personally is Copy Genius. So my example here is Helen Crosby. She is the Aston Martin social media team manager. One of my dream jobs is to work for a Formula One team, specifically in marketing and content creation. And so the way I would use this is I look at her profile and see what kind of experiences she's had in the past. So before this, she was doing, I believe it was rugby for a small team in England. And then she worked her way up from there and worked at McLaren, at Chesley Football Club, and now she runs Aston Martin's entire social media. So this is a really great way to just see how people in your dream jobs kind of get to where they're at, and also just see how they got there, and they can even be a potential mentor for you. And then job hunting is probably one of the main ways people now are using LinkedIn, and that's, again, how I got my job. There was a direct application on there, and because my LinkedIn was prepped and ready to go, it made it a lot easier to apply for the job. So as you can see, there's a lot of different, it looks very overwhelming, but there's a lot of different ways you can use the job search portion of LinkedIn. It kind of feels like Google, and it's very user-friendly. You can see it by different categories of what type of job you want, the location, you can see the salary, the position, if it's entry level or senior. And it's honestly just very helpful, and you can really find very niche positions and just completely apply on there, and it's great. It's crazy how it works, but it's really efficient and it works. But now we're going to get into the portion of how to actually create the perfect profile. So it, again, looks very overwhelming that there's so much to involved in a LinkedIn profile, but I'm going to break it down by going through my own LinkedIn to show you guys what I think a pretty decent LinkedIn is. So this is what mine looks like. I obviously have a headshot, which again, headshots are going to be done later this week, so you guys will all have one. I have a little header. It's nothing crazy. It's literally just a gradient, so it's not boring. And then right underneath, I have my title. So I am the photo and content coordinator at an agency. And then I'm also a freelance photographer and filmmaker. And then on the left side, it shows the exact company I work for and the school I went to, USC. And then right underneath, it's also where I currently live and work. And then the 500 connections underneath is a very important topic we're going to talk about in 2 minutes. So yeah, this is what usually people will see right when they look you up, especially recruiters or anyone who wants to search you. This is essentially what pops up first. And then the bio is another very important part of LinkedIn that I feel often gets overlooked. This one's mine. There's a lot of words, so we're probably not going to read it all. I have little emojis on there because we want to make it fun. You guys can totally read it, or when you connect with me later, totally read it. But it's just another overview of who you are as a person outside of your experiences. And so yeah, in the very beginning, I talk about where I graduated, what I'm currently doing, and then I kind of at the end talk about how, what my goals and passions are, and what I want to do in the future, and then my email, my personal email, if anyone wants to connect. And now for the experiences. This is a very obviously important part of your LinkedIn profile. I like to say it's an extension of your resume, because on your resume, you can only say so much on a page, but on LinkedIn, you can write honestly as much as you want. So the way I do it, I make it in little paragraphs, because especially on applications online, sometimes they won't give you the option to make it bullet points of your experiences, and this is just another easy way to copy and paste and just easily apply to anywhere you want. And also with LinkedIn, it shows underneath a skills portion, which is really cool because then you can get really specific into what the job entails of what you did at that position. And then we go into education. Even if you're in high school, this is a great way to show everyone where you went to school. And if you're in university or college, you can put exactly everything that you need. So whether it's your major, whether it's your GPA, everything you're involved in. So at USC, I was involved in Charging Marketing Group, or I was also in the Gen Zine, which was a magazine at the school. And again, it's just another way for recruiters to really understand you as a person beyond that one-page resume. And then there's also other really cool parts of your profile that you can include. So when I got my position at the current job I'm at, it's very common for people on LinkedIn to post like an update, like, hey, I got a new job, here's what I'm doing. And a lot of people in your connections and your network will often interact with it, often congratulate you or just say, hey, this is so awesome. And then also there's a featured portion of LinkedIn. So that's where I have my portfolio or my online website. And it's just great that there's so many features to include. Now that we got that out of the way, some other helpful tips I want to talk about is the importance of 500 plus connections. So in my head, this is kind of like the black Amex card of LinkedIn. This is super important, and it sounds daunting to get to 500 connections, but when you do get the 500 connections, it makes your life just so much easier because the more connections you have, the more that you can connect with other people in your field or in jobs that you want, and the higher that your profile will actually be up on the algorithm of recruiters looking for new applicants. And with that, you also want to stay very active on LinkedIn. So whether it's commenting, whether it's sharing posts, whether it's just liking other people's posts, this is again another way with the algorithm to help show recruiters that you're active and that you're actually a human and not a robot just on the internet. So yeah, share what you're doing. It sounds like a lot at first to share what you're doing with the world, but I promise you it's going to help you a lot in the end with recruiters and getting your dream job. And then again, really important to have a good headshot, even if it's just like a decent college headshot, that's fine, but this is also a plugin that I'll be doing headshots at Leap, and so these were the coaches last year, and Ethan, who's now a coach, of their headshot. So hopefully you guys get yours done. I would be more than happy to take them and just help you make your LinkedIn as best as you can. But with that being said, we have some coaches who want to come up and show their LinkedIn and how it has helped them. So if we can get Sophie up here.
Hey everybody, how are we doing? We feeling good? Awesome. I don't know if mine's up there or not. Is it? Oh yeah, there's me. I just wanted to share a little bit about my experience with LinkedIn. I'm still kind of getting used to it, I'm making my profile look really good. But one experience that I did want to share with y'all that was really helpful with me, thanks to LinkedIn, was how I got my last job. So I was actually on vacation with my mom, and we were in Florida, and I live in Tennessee. And there was this store that my mom and I both loved, but they had a storefront there, and we always just shopped online. And so I was talking with one of the employees, oh, I love this store. I really wish we had one back where I'm from. And she asked me where I was from. I told her Nashville, and she was like, actually, we're about to get a store in Nashville. So that, I kind of got my wheels turning, I want to work there. So I looked up, the company was called Stony Clover, if you know what that is. But so I looked up Stony Clover's LinkedIn profile, and then I went and saw any of their managers for different stores or anyone that worked at like their corporate office, and I went and messaged them specifically, and I basically just said, hey, well, you can read what I wrote, but I just said, hey, I really want to work here, and I just submitted my application and heard that I got an interview. I was wondering if you would be interested in giving me any advice on like how I should prepare for this interview. And I actually got a bunch of responses. Most of them were actually very eager to help me out, and so without LinkedIn, I wouldn't have been nearly as prepared for those interviews. And so yeah, I think that's been the best part of LinkedIn for me so far. I think that's it.
And then we have one more coach that also wants to show their LinkedIn and how it's helped them. So if we can get Eric up here.
What's up, guys? All right, so let's start off with one question. So you've had a lot of information right now. If we can get 2 people, maybe three people, to tell us some of the benefits that you've learned so far about LinkedIn. Raise of hands. All right, we got Charles. Can we get a mic, please? Thank you.
Networking.
All right, networking. Any others? In the back.
It adds to your resume.
Yes. Beautiful. One more. Over here.
It's easier for people to find out what you do.
Yes. Okay, so yeah, not only does it help you improve your networking, but it also allows you to, it's a great tool to discover academic and professional opportunities. And so I'm going to be talking about my LinkedIn and how it's helping me, because this upcoming fall, I'm planning on attending, on securing a new internship, and to do that, I'm gonna need a really good profile on LinkedIn. So on the screen, you can see my header. I got that for free, I got it taken for free at my university. I recommend getting more than one, just because you can use it for multiple things. Like I use a different one for my email. It just automatically makes you look way more professional having a header, picture on your email. And then the picture on the back, I use it as, that's where I live in Tampa, Florida. And the bio, I recommend just putting something short. Like for me, I put my major, business analytics and accounting. And then below that is the about section. I recommend to always have it be like precise and concise, because employers are looking for, they're having a bunch of, they're looking for a bunch of people at the same time, and they want to obviously just look to see if you have those qualities. So for me, I put my major, my name, and that I'm looking for an internship, specifically with the roles that have to do with analytics. Okay, so then the feature tab, here's where I use the that feature to put in any certifications that I have or awards, and my resume. So starting off with my resume, it's really quick, easy access. If you want to see like more information about me, they go ahead and click that. And then next is the Dean's List. That way employers can easily see that I'm a good student academically as well. And then I also put in a Gilman Scholarship Acceptance letter, just because I feel like it was something really impressive and it makes me stand out. So I added that there too. And then the activity is really important. Like Angelica said, you want to make sure you stay active and posting. And if you're an employer, you want to see, like, okay, what is Eric up to? What has he posted? What has he been doing? So my most recent post was when I went to Italy, like right below my scholarship one, when I went to Florence, Italy to study for 7-8 weeks. And I feel like that's something really important, because it shows employers that not only do you get good grades, but you also go to a whole new environment and are able to still get good grades. So yeah, so I do recommend all you guys to go ahead and get an easy early start on this, because then after you get your page set up, then you're gonna wanna go on the Explore page, and you're gonna scroll to see all your connections and the companies that they work for, and you can scroll to see which one fits your interests. And then once you do that, you can go ahead and send them a message if you have any questions on the company, or even if you want to send them a message asking for an interview. And like Zara said, you can use that to see if it fits your interests. So yeah, like I said, make sure you go ahead and get an early start. I know it might seem like you don't need it right now, but you are meeting people right now that they might grow and become like the next CEO of something, of a company. And you look at that, you might already have them on LinkedIn. So yeah, just make connections, because it doesn't hurt to do that. And always remember to look at your profile from an employer's point of view. Like, would you hire yourself if you're looking at your profile? So yeah, thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you to the coaches. We have like 2 more slides. Yeah. 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 So we're just going to quickly talk about online portfolios real quick. This is Riley's. Riley, if you want to come up just really quickly. So Riley is a journalist, and she does a lot of writing on her free time, and just as a freelance writer. So this is hers, if you want to come up real quickly.
Hi. I don't have a lot to say on this other than I use clippings for my portfolio. It's really good, especially for writing. It just has the photo, and you can also attach it as a PDF. So you know how sometimes news articles get deleted from websites or whatever. This allows you to download the article as a PDF, which in general is a good tip. Don't always rely on the internet to always have something there. I always try to download everything as a PDF for my own collection, so I have it. So yeah, clippings is good if you're a writer.
Thanks, Riley. And then if you guys are into photo or video like me, this is mine. I use Squarespace. It's great. I do pay $20 a month to get the domain, so it doesn't have the Squarespace in the domain. So this is mine really quickly. Nothing crazy. You guys can find on my LinkedIn, but it is important to have this if you're in the more creative field, just because LinkedIn is a good extension, but it can only show so much. So again, websites that we were using: Squarespace, Wix is a free one, Clippings, and Behance is something that Riley has also used. And that's pretty much it. So I hope you guys enjoyed. And if you have any questions, you can add me on LinkedIn, connect. That's pretty much it. Thanks, guys.